Hey everybody, this is like take 20 of me just saying hello. Wow, okay, I've done it. Well done. So today someone sent me a bit of spoken word, kind of telling me a story. It's only about a minute long, and they've asked me to, you know, put some music to it, just kind of help to just build the atmosphere and kind of help to tell the story. So yeah, this is going to be part one. What I wanted to do was start straight from the beginning with just the audio and literally write it and compose it straight, but I've had so many issues I had to just do it without recording. So for this video I'm just going to take you through what I've done as for part one, and then part 2 and 3 hopefully things will be back to normal, and then, you know, I can actually compose it on the dot and show you, like, really just on the moment how, you know, I do things and how things are going. So I'm just going to start off by playing the audio itself, and then take you through the first steps, what I did first, and yeah, what I did from there.
There once was a girl in an unknown village. She learnt the hard way that beauty was just an image. Now before I continue, there's something you must know. If you want to know her identity, you might as well go. For I've sworn to secrecy, and no, she isn't me. They said she built her walls too high. They questioned her, she walked away. Her walls stood tall and touched the sky. The truth is she was too scared to play. The game they love, it's a sick, sick one. Because you're never enough, it makes you want to run to the darkest place in your crumbling mind, trying to work out why everybody lied. Yeah, they broke all their promises, so she didn't even try to have a bit of faith in the one that caught her eye. Designed to be alone, that's just how she works, but every day felt like it was just getting worse. Her story wasn't all sad, it was just a struggle. Some moments made her glad, but some burst her bubble. I've kept my words vague, deliberately, and if she somehow finds this particular post, I want to thank her for sharing her journey. I know that finding someone who'll listen means the most.
So it's about a minute long. Cool. One of the first things I did is I listened to it about 2 or 3 times over, and I used the markers at the top here to just highlight bits of the piece where I thought, you know, these words stand out. So there's a bit where she talks about being sworn to secrecy, that kind of split up sibilance, that word, split up, that, yeah, and then there's bits, I think she says sick game, or it was something like that, and then there's this bit at the end where what did she say?
Just a struggle. Some moments made her glad, but some burst her bubble.
Some moments made her glad, but some burst her bubble. So, you know, bits like that. Yeah, because I thought those are going to be key moments where the music and the atmosphere, I might want to change things up or drop some things out and put some new things in, you know, even have a transitional effect here and there. So, yeah, that's the first thing I did, put in those markers. The second thing I did is think to myself, you know, what kind of mood are we going for? We're going for a major, minor, what, you know, well, not mood, but, you know, what key is going to work. So I decided I was going to work in C, because C is quite a neutral key. There's not too many shops. Yep. So as you can see, I haven't got a MIDI keyboard on me, I'm outside right now. So in the key of C, I decided that it's going to be quite minor, because it seems there's a lot of, you know, emotion going through here. It's quite, not really dark, but quite sorrowful, so to speak. So I thought I'd just keep it minor, which is... So all of the notes, the majority of the notes will either be one of those 3, and obviously the 4th in the octave of C, up the octave as well. Yeah, what I did as well is I had to think about the fact that, you know, the voice, the audio has to be the main priority, has to be the main thing that's being heard. Because, you know, if you're writing the music and the music is just, you know, there's loads of really fast notes and there's all these scales and there's just too much going on, then it's too loud and it's too bright, it's going to distract the listener or whoever's watching it or reading it or whatever it is from what's, you know, what's the most important bit, what's the main focus. And the main focus is the audio itself, is what's being said. The music is just to, you know, just create a foundation layer, just to hold it and just sustain the piece together. So for the first piano, I've literally just held down the note C just in 2 octaves straight. Just repeated over and over again. you know, just nothing too complicated, just quite simple, just literally the note C in 2 octaves, just repeated and repeated, just so that there's a sense of consistency and repetition. And then on another piano, I believe this is up an octave, I've done the same thing again. There we go. Yeah, I think one of those notes in the last chord was a bit off in terms of timing, but what I've done there, instead of just holding down the C twice again, on the 3rd time and on the 4th time I put in an alternating note, which is, I think it rises up a tone. So as well as just having the C's, we've got this. You know, just that little note in between, it just kind of makes it feel as if, although the piece is, continually flowing, it's also kind of, building up into something as if something's going to come next. So, that's what's going on with the pianos. What I've basically done then in the harp is just repeated that again, just so it has a bit of a beautiful, more of an angelic feel, because harps, when you're actually playing the strings itself, it's quite a lovely feeling. What I also did is I decided to introduce a very slow, kind of somewhat unnoticeable melody. So this is the melody itself, and I put it in the tuba. So once again, we've got those little steps of the notes, coming up, as if they're building up into something. Cool, so I'm just gonna play that with the piano, and then you'll get an idea of how it kind of feels when you start to put the little sections together. Right, so we've got a very slow kind of basic melody. We've got the pianos and the harps working together. What I then needed to do was think to myself, we've got all these little ideas, they're kind of floating about. We need something that's going to be somewhat solid and just kind of hold and sustain all of that together with the audio itself. So for that, what I decided to do was stick with the note C in the key of C minor, and I decided to just have really long C's just going on the double basses. So it holds for how many bars? 4 bars, and then after the 4th bar changes to an A flat. Yeah, so it's just literally C and A flat just alternating, just again and again. So here we go. Just that deep kind of solid sound underneath, and then with the melody, and then with everything else on top.
For I've sworn to secrecy, and no, she isn't me. They said she built her walls too high. They questioned her as she walked away. Her walls stood tall and touched the sky. The truth is she was too scared to play. The game they love, it's a sick, sick one. Because you're never enough, it makes you want to run to the darkest place in your crumbling mind.
Cool. So that's more or less all I've done for part 1. Part 1's really just about putting the ideas together, just the first day of composing and just listening and just getting an idea of what key you're working in, the pace of the piece, how we're going to create that basic layer of environment as well. So what I did as well, I thought about the fact that I've put those markers in Sworn to Secrecy, 6-sit game. So around about 6-sit game, just a bit after that. Probably heard that crescendo.
The darkest place in your crumbling mind.
So that's a orchestral percussion technique. It's where you just literally, you've got 2 sticks and you're just rolling the sticks onto the suspended cymbal, and you just keep rolling and just make them get louder, so it creates a crescendo, kind of like a psh, so it just gets louder and then kind of dies out. So I use things like that as a, kind of like a transitional effect quite a lot. It's quite simple, but it's pretty effective. So when I get into part 2 and I'm looking at the next steps and what I'm going to do to kind of help the piece further develop and keep moving on, that's going to help just to kind of make that clear that we're moving into something else and the piece is still moving. And yeah, so once again, I'm just going to play it through.
There once was a girl in an unknown village. She learnt the hard way that beauty was just an image. Now before I continue, there's something you must know. If you want to know her identity, you might as well go. For I've sworn to secrecy, and no, she isn't me. They said she built her walls too high. They questioned her, she walked away. Her walls stood tall and touched the sky. The truth is she was too scared to play. The game they love, it's a sick, sick one. Because you're never enough, it makes you want to run to the darkest place in your crumbling mind.
And then that will lead on to the next section now. I've kind of got a few ideas for the next section, but obviously when you're writing something like this, there's a lot of ways you can take it. It's all about, experimenting, seeing what works better, what doesn't work as well, and then just putting in those basic ideas and just taking a risk and saying, what's going to happen next? Let's see how we can take this further. And I think that's basically what I've done for this first part here. I'm going to have a look at this, and then in part 2, I will take you through what I think might be a good idea for the next steps. But just for now, this is just what I've done off camera. And yeah, in a bit. Take care, guys.